Hi, and welcome to our next lecture in the DGM 153 online course for user interface, or I should say usability design. And in this discussion, we're going to talk about what users want, okay? It's the idea that people don't want to think. And part of a UX designer's job is to figure out how little thinking we can do and how much intuitivity we can add to a project. Now, every project is different, but there are a couple things that you may want to include. For example, users want across the board a clear message. They want to know what it is that they're looking at. What does it do? They don't want to be confused about, say, a water skiing site selling you tractor wheels, okay? Another thing that is across the board is consistency. As long as something is consistent, they'll learn how to use it and they'll find it. So think of buttons being in the same place on each page, icons that are recognizable, colors that work together or that are repeated throughout the composition, and typography. Stay away from using more than 5 fonts in a website. 3 per page is perfectly fine. Finally, most users want ease of use, right? That intuitive design, a system that it's easy to learn, something that you can pick up quickly, and you don't have to do extensive how-to videos in order to figure it out. So in a nutshell, it's Don't Make Me Think, which is actually a book by the author of our textbook. It's a second installment. You may want to check it out. You want to make something that works, something that explains itself, it's quick to use, and easy to navigate. One of the ways to do about that is making sure that there's a clear way to go back, either a drop-down menu or a back button. Make it easy to search. So adding a search bar, especially to websites, is very important. And always have an easy way home. A lot of companies use their home page logo as a way to get home, or they create a home button. And finally, always try to get to the point. So as in this example, if you click on the button that says jobs, you can find jobs. Employment opportunities is another way to say jobs, but is it jobs? Oh yeah, millisecond, that's jobs. The third one, job-o-rama, not sure what that is. Might skip it, okay? Interactivity and usability is another concern for user experience designers. One of the biggest problems, especially in phone designs, is on touch screens, making sure that your buttons are large enough for fingers. Now, if your audience members happen to have really chunky fingers, you may want to increase these point sizes, but in the minimum, your buttons should be at least 44 by 44 points or pixels. It's the same thing. Okay, try to utilize understood symbols. So house for home, cloud for weather. Now these symbols will change depending on where you are designing for on the globe. In the United States, the set of symbols might be a little different than in, say, China. Color associations change based on country because they are cultural. So please do your research before you send something that might be considered middle finger somewhere in the world, okay? So make your fonts as large enough to see. 14 to 16 points is pretty good size measure for fonts, especially for fonts on a cell phone or in iPad, touchpad, okay? If you're designing for paper, that point size can be a lot smaller. Unfortunately, on screen, you need slightly larger point sizes. Also try to pick fonts that are designed for screens. If you go to Google Fonts, there's a ton of free fonts out there that are available and they're designed for the screen, so they're easy to use and read. Make sure that your text has the right amount of contrast. A light off-white background and dark text is a really good way to read. Too much contrast can be bad. If you put, say, bright red text on a bright green background, it's going to hurt your eyeballs and everybody else's. And it will also make it impossible for people that have red and green color blindness to see those colors. So keep that in mind. And make sure that your headings are in the same place. Now, in terms of, once again, usability, there's another entire area to usability, and that is accessibility, because not everyone has the same abilities that you might. Apps and projects will be accessible to incredibly wide range of people, and not everyone that's going to be using them can see. Not everyone that's using them can see all the colors. So make sure that if you're doing a website, you have alt tags that describe images. That is a really big important piece for accessibility, and that your videos are closed captioned, and that your color choices are available to people that have color blindness. So orange and blue, not a good idea to put together for important information. Green and red, also not a good idea for that, and making sure that there's enough contrast between the different colors, okay? So captions, subtitles, all of that is very important when you're developing web pages. Now, the best way to figure out what is your specific user need is to do usability testing. And we've already done a couple rounds, at least 2, and we'll be looking at different testing options. But for the task-based observation testing, one of the things that you do is you kind of look at what the person did, and then you analyze it and try to improve the website based on that. And it's really easy if you're looking at one person's interaction with one website. But what happens if you, say, have 15 to 20 of such interactions, which we do now that we've put everything into a spreadsheet? What now? So you have to kind of drill down the information and codify it. What you do is you look at the information and you try to identify patterns, words that mean the same thing, similar issues with the interactivity. So say someone had problems finding the assignments, or they didn't know where to find when the assignment was due, okay? When you're looking at the spreadsheet, look at the problems as they're described and try to pick up words or use words that would describe the same thing. So if someone had problems on the home page, navigating the home page. If someone couldn't find an assignment, is missing assignments, right? Look for those similar issues. And once you have those similar issues, you can start organizing the information into chunks, smaller categories. And then keep dividing them until you have 5 to 7 themes, 5 to 7 code words to describe the problems that we're seeing in the design. So things like problems logging in, or problems adding new recipes. Those would be what we are looking for. Now, to get more into the nitty-gritty, I have some videos for you to watch in the lower sections. I think those will be very helpful. And the first one looks like this. They're not very pretty, but they do explain codifying work very, very well. So take a minute or two to watch those. Check out the additional resources. There are codifying transcript software options that researchers use for qualitative data analysis. And I've got those in the additional resources or optional resources section available for you guys. Okay, that's it.